Hey there, listener.
Mm.
You ever toss an empty can of, like, hairspray in the trash and think, should I feel slightly bad about this?
Today's deep dive is going to get into that because we're going deep into the surprisingly complex world of aerosol waste disposal with Greenflow.
Okay.
They've been tackling this since 1992.
Wow.
Talk about experience. So we're tapping into their expertise to find out why those cans aren't as simple as they seem.
You hit the nail on the head.
Mm.
It's easy to think, oh, it's empty, it's harmless. But the contents and that whole pressurized environment, well, that's where things get interesting.
Yeah.
Especially with regulations like SEPA, that's the Canadian Environmental Protection Act, looming large. We're talking serious business here.
Okay, so SEPA, no one wants to mess with that, especially businesses. But what is it that makes these everyday things potentially hazardous? Greenflow's website mentions pressurized content and potential hazardous materials, which honestly sounds a little ominous.
And rightfully so. I mean, think about it. A can of spray paint seems harmless enough, right? But that's flammable liquid under pressure.
Yeah.
SEPA regulations are super strict about flammables disposal for a reason.
Oh, for sure.
Improper handling could turn a discarded can into a mini fire hazard.
Yeah, absolutely. And it might surprise you to know that it's not always the contents alone that are the issue.
Right.
It's how that pressure interacts with them. Greenflow gives this example of substances that react violently with water.
Oh, wow.
So if that can gets punctured and exposed to moisture, even in a landfill, we're talking potential chemical reactions, contamination, the works. Not good.
No. And that's where Greenflow's experience since 1992 becomes really crucial. They've seen regulations change, technologies evolve, and they've adapted their processes to not just keep up, but to lead the way in environmentally sound disposal.
So this is way more than just tossing cans in a bin. Greenflow emphasizes a safe, environmentally responsible process that meets these strict regulatory standards.
Yep.
It makes you wonder, what does that actually look like in action?
Well, they break it down on their site. First up, safe collection.
Right.
Seems kind of obvious.
Right.
But you don't want these pressurized containers turning into projectiles during transport.
No.
Then comes the part I find fascinating, the depressurization and recycling stage.
Okay.
They use specialized equipment to safely release...
Yeah, it's not like you can just puncture them at that point.
Exactly. There are specific procedures, and let's be honest, probably some cool tech involved.
For sure.
Greenflow keeps those details under wraps, but they emphasize that this stage is all about safety and maximizing material recovery. It's a win-win for everyone, especially the environment.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about the parts of these aerosols that aren't recyclable? Do they just end up in a landfill anyway?
Greenflow acknowledges that we're not at a point where every single component is recyclable,
Right.
but they're committed to finding the most environmentally sound disposal methods for those remaining bits.
Okay.
Think specialized treatment facilities, not your average landfill.
Gotcha.
This ensures those potentially hazardous materials are handled responsibly, minimizing the risk of soil and water contamination.
Which brings us back to those strict regulations. It's not just about being green, it's about avoiding hefty fines and legal headaches. Greenflow stresses the importance of proper documentation throughout their process.
Absolutely. Having those records provides peace of mind for businesses,
Yay.
and demonstrates their commitment to responsible waste management. And speaking of commitment, Greenflow doesn't just stop at handling the disposal.
Yeah.
They've partnered with One Tree Planted to offset their environmental impact.
That's right. I was so intrigued by this part of their website.
Yeah.
For every service Greenflow provides, they plant a tree in collaboration with One Tree Planted.
It's a cool program.
Yeah, it's such a tangible step towards combating deforestation.
It really highlights how seriously they take environmental responsibility. It's not just about dealing with, the necessary evil of waste, but actively trying to give back and create a positive impact.
Yeah.
And the benefits of tree planting are huge.
It's a great example of how a company can make sustainability a core part of its business model, not just an afterthought.
Yeah.
They're demonstrating that even something as essential as waste disposal can be an opportunity for positive change.
And it circles back to what we were discussing earlier about Greenflow's experience and evolution since 1992. They've consistently adapted to changing regulations and technologies, showing a forward-thinking approach.
Yeah.
This partnership with One Tree Planted is another example of them staying ahead of the curve, recognizing that sustainability is not just a trend, but a necessity.
Speaking of looking ahead, Greenflow doesn't just limit themselves to aerosol waste. Their FAQs highlight their expertise in handling a whole range of hazardous and regulated materials,
Yeah.
from industrial byproducts to chemicals. It's like they're tackling the waste management puzzle from multiple angles.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
What's fascinating is that they're positioning themselves as a partner for businesses navigating this complex landscape.
Right.
It's not just about disposal. It's about providing solutions that are both compliant and environmentally sound.
Right. And it reminds you that behind every product we use, there's a whole life cycle of materials that needs to be managed responsibly.
Absolutely.
It's eye-opening because it's something we rarely think about. We use a can of hairspray or spray paint, and we don't consider where it goes or the potential impact it has when it's no longer serving its purpose.
It's like that with so many aspects of our consumer culture. But what I appreciate about Greenflow's approach is that they're not just preaching about the problem.
Yeah.
They're offering practical solutions. They're saying, we're here to help you navigate these complexities and do the right thing.
And that's a powerful message because it empowers businesses and individuals to be part of the solution. It's not about guilt-tripping anyone for using everyday products. It's about encouraging responsible consumption and disposal.
It's about recognizing that even small actions, when multiplied across industries and individuals,
Right.
can collectively make a significant difference. Greenflow's commitment to environmental responsibility, both through their disposal practices and initiatives like the One Tree Planted Partnership, is a perfect example of this.
And it all comes back to that initial question about whether we should feel bad about tossing that empty aerosol can in the trash. It's not about feeling bad. It's about being informed and making conscious choices.
Exactly. Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And understanding the hidden impacts of something as commonplace as aerosol disposal allows us to make more informed choices as both consumers and citizens.
It's a great reminder that sustainability isn't some abstract concept.
Right.
It's about the practical choices we make every day. And Greenflow is making it easier for businesses to align with those values. For our listeners who are now knee-deep in this with us, we'll be sure to link to Greenflow's website in the show notes. Their FAQ section is shockingly interesting.
I was impressed.
Right.
They answered questions I didn't even know I had about responsible waste management. Who knew this world was so complex?
It goes to show that there's always more to discover, even in the seemingly mundane. Big thanks to Greenflow for the unexpected deep dive into the world of aerosol waste. For our listeners, keep those minds curious because you never know where that curiosity might lead. Until next time.